GRDC Pulse Check project. Just while we're out and about today, thought I'd give you a quick run around of the varieties of mung beans that are currently out and a bit of an introduction to a new one that's about to be released. Here's the first variety in our little walk around, Celera II. Celera II is a small seeded, shiny type. Generally only has quite a small market. So if you were thinking of growing this variety, you'd want to be talking to your marketer first to ensure that you can find a home for it. Big reason that Celera II was released is its halo blight resistance. It seems to be conferred that with halo blight resistance, often found in the small seeded types and not so much the large seeded types. So this particular plot here in the area we have got halo blight, very little to be seen on this Celera II. But if you are going to grow it too, be very aware of how quick this one is. It will generally come in 2 to 3 weeks quicker than any of your other mung beans, and so you've got to be right on top of your management and be ready for all your insecticides and your desiccation nice and early. The next one along in our little virtual field day is Satin II. Satin II's been around for a little while. It has a very specific market in that it's mostly used for the sprouting market. It's a dull seeded type, so no shiny glossy black seed. For those that grow it, generally have a very good feeling of it, but it's probably still a smaller part of the market. And again, it's one of those things that if you're thinking of growing Satin II, be talking to your marketer first to ensure that there's somewhere for the product to go once it's harvested. Next variety in our virtual field walk is Crystal. Crystal was released from the National Mungbean Improvement program a few years ago now, and when it was released it had up to 10 to 12% yield increase over the current varieties at the time. It's become quite a popular variety, but as you can see in this little plot here, it has taken a little bit of halo blight this year. There's been a bit around in this particular area and it has developed into Crystal. Unfortunately, with our current commercials, there's very little halo blight resistance. The last large seeded variety to be released out of the National Mungbean Improvement program is Jade AU. Jade, again, like Crystal, is quite a tall variety that had, when released, still had those double-digit % increases in yield over Crystal. It's probably become the standard amongst the mung bean varieties that most other things are tested against. Has very good standability. Unfortunately, has not a lot of resistance to any of the bacterial blights. This particular plot's got a little bit of halo blight turning up in it. The other thing with Jade is this pod colouring. We're getting it towards the black pod of this in its maturity, and you can see it's a slightly lighter colour than our crystals that we were looking at before. The National Mungbean Improvement Program is about to release this new variety, currently known by its breeding number M12036. A couple of things to note about this one. Probably a bit hard to see in these videos, but it's actually taller. It's holding its pods up nice and high, great standability. Maturity rise, it's probably very similar to the Jades and Crystals. One reason why this variety is being released is due to its halo blight. Not so much resistance, but its tolerance. It has a much better rating. Hasn't got its full rating yet, but most likely will be somewhere around that of Celera II. And as I said before, Celera is a small seeded type, which seems to have the halo blight resistance. The breeding team has managed now to get this across into a large seeded variety. Seed size wise, it's probably a little bit smaller than a Jade or a Crystal, but it's still quite acceptable to the market. And having a look at these small plots, it's looking very good out here at the moment. In southern Queensland and northern New South Wales, as compared to Jade, it's had up to 128% of the yield of Jade across about a dozen sites. And the main reason for that is due to its halo blight resistance. It's one to look out for. Should be released very shortly, and with commercial seed available in the next 12 months. Well, that's a quick look at the varieties that have come through the National Mungbean Improvement Program with the M12036 over my shoulder here. It's a great looking variety. There'll be more information about it coming out shortly. Thanks and all the best from Pulse Check across the Downs.